Welcome. Welcome, Natalie and Angela. Please come up. As was said earlier, congratulations to the co-directors of Daughters. My name is Cynthia Lopez. I'm the CEO of New York Women Film and Television, and I'm the former Commissioner of Media in New York City, Commissioner of Media and Entertainment in New York City. This is my third time watching the film, and it does the same thing to me each time. My colleague sitting next to me, she's like, "Are you okay?" I said, "Yes, I am." How many in the group are fathers? How many here are fathers? How did you feel today watching this? Exactly. How many are daughters? It gives you another way to look at your dad. My dad passed at 85 a couple of years ago. And when I watch this, I just think, all the lessons that he tried to teach me, that when you're young, you resist, And then later on, when you get older, you're like, wait a second, this is why he said this. This is why he did this. So I just want to thank the co-directors who gave us a new light in looking at what it means to be a daughter and what it means to be a dad in this particular situation. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for coming.
I'm going to start off with some cinematic questions. We have a very sophisticated audience, so I'm going to let them read your bios. I'm going to let them go to the website and learn more about what they can do to support the film and the campaign and Netflix in your endeavor to see what we can do so that this film gets attention as it walks toward, I believe, an Oscar, but that's just me. So first, why did you start off the film with black and white, cinematically?
Well, I thought that was an amazing idea. I did have an opportunity to work with some other videographers that would just come to dances. Those were actually dances in the past, a few of them. And I've always wanted the fathers that actually participated in the program to be able to just reflect. It was like more their video diary, if that makes sense. So it wasn't for me to do a film at first. I just wanted them to reflect. And I know that the videographer said they should see it in black and white. And then we had an opportunity for Bruce Weber, a photographer, to come in. And he did a photo journal with us, and the black and white pictures really just helped the families have this more in-depth personal relation to it. And he blew them all up and mailed them to the families. And so when Natalie suggested that, it just was a full circle for me that would make sense from the beginning and, also at the end, because we already had an experience with the families really appreciating the black and white vision, and also being able to have these posters in their homes, and they all had the book of those same photos.
Natalie, could you tell us a little bit about how many families did you follow, and how did you select the ones that ended up in the film?
So when we first got to meet the fathers and the daughters and the moms, we were going to all 25 families and just introducing ourselves and trying to understand why they would want to be part of it, what messages they wanted to bring into the film. And it was kind of just this natural connection of the four main girls and their moms really connected with Angela and I in the spirit of the film. And then we were like, whoa, this is so amazing. Look, we have 5, 10, 11, 15. So we had this beautiful age span. And these girls were also at really different personalities and really different connections with their fathers. So we had something really strong initially. It's sort of like they chose us. And then we did start with 2 other families. And unfortunately, the fathers weren't able to attend the dance because they were moved to other places beforehand. So that was a bummer because those girls were so disappointed to not go to the dance and so disappointed to have to, you started working with us and then we had to stop. But those 4 families were the 4 for the whole time. And it wasn't like we captured anyone else that we ended up having to exclude. I think finding a way to work in all four and show that mosaic of feeling was a challenge in the edit, years to come. But grateful that these four families really wanted to stick the course with us.
In the film, it profiles that this particular program, about 95% of the participants are not recurring to go to jail for different crimes. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing or what has been done to use this program in different prisons throughout the country.
Yes, well, that's a great question. But that statistic comes from the Richmond Justice Center in Richmond, Virginia, where we were able to facilitate about 10 or 12 of these programs. And fortunately, the sheriff, former Sheriff C.T. Woody, partnered with Virginia Commonwealth University and also with the REAL program that decided that they wanted not only to do the study on our program, but any community type of programs that would come into facilities to really address what they should be doing is correctional facilities, right? And we started to realize that things were not being corrected. The recidivism rates were really high. And so he said, but I do believe that when families are connected, that most likely they will not return. And I also believe that when community comes in from the outside, we are going to strengthen these men and women to be better citizens and have more relationships and opportunities. But also it uplifts the morale also, not only with the inmates, but also with the correctional officers and the sheriff himself. And so we did this study with him, and he came back and was like, I told you, these fathers are not returning. And one of the things we also did was this aftercare program. So not only are we making sure that the fathers are prepared while they are inside, when they come out, we are finding other partners that are working around prison reform. But the main thing that I really love that Sheriff Whitty did with me is I also have this program in the community. The father-daughter dance that we typically would go to in Girl Scouts. He would buy a table. 20 fathers that used to be in his facility would now come and sit with him with his own 4 daughters. And so those types of relationships that we were intentional about with the aftercare programs, community, building relationships, I believe has allowed us to be able to have the numbers that we see. We only have done this program in the Washington, D.C. jail, and then COVID hit. And so we're hoping that this film is a new tool and a new way to help others, that may be in a facility as a warden, a sheriff, a social worker, to think about expanding and replicating the model.
For Natalie, the device of not telling the audience what the incarcerated person had done and how much time they faced at the top of the film, why did you select not to do that?
We were really committed to tell this story from the girl's perspective. So if what the crimes were or were not, or the time wasn't important in the girl's life, then that wasn't important to us. We wanted to be really true to the questions they were asking. They were talking a lot about touch. I just want to touch my father. And then when we met the fathers, it was also something that Chad said. He said in the circle on day 1, we're never going to talk about what your sentences are because that's not the point. We're fathers. Let's sit and talk about our children. And let's also talk about our own parents and our own fatherhood and motherhood wounds. So I think as filmmakers, we took that lead, but also believe that no matter what a parent has done, a child doesn't deserve to be shut off from love and connection to that parent and shouldn't suffer the consequences on their childhood.
Amazing. I have to say, I know I would have come with some, I don't know if the audience feels the same way, but you would come with some prejudice if you saw that at the beginning of the film. But instead, I saw the vulnerability in the men. And of course, the first time I saw the film, for many years, I was at an organization called POV, American Documentary, and I was the co-executive producer. And I always say, an excellent documentary is a documentary that takes you to a place you've never been, that keeps you there, And when you come back, you will always remember something about that place. And I think there was a fear and reconciliation that I had with, these are people too, even if they made a mistake that landed them in jail, but that didn't take away their fatherhood and their humanness. And I kept on thinking yesterday, I was seated there watching the whale film, and the little baby whale was just like by, the mother whale. And that was so heartwarming to me. And I just kept on thinking, oh gosh, I'm seeing this in a different way with this film, because they won't just want to be with their dads. So again, congratulations on the filmmaking, both of you. And also partnering for 10 years. Let me think about it. I've never been married for 10 years. So I give you credit. It's hard to do. Even when you love somebody, it's sometimes really hard to stay together for a really long time, right?
Yeah, you grow a lot with that person. Yeah.
Exactly. And you have to also accept. I was saying this yesterday to a friend, because they said, you and your ex-husband, you're really close friends. And I said, yeah, I love him, but I didn't want to live with him. You know what I mean? So for me, when you have a creative partnership that you could still embrace each other's differences, but still get it done, it's hard to get anything done. So getting something done that takes 10 years is really amazing. I wanted to ask the question, what did you learn in making the film? Each of you.
So many things. As a filmmaker, I was a completely different person at the beginning of this, so it taught me everything I know about a documentary and how to let go and how to let this thing have its own life like a child. And you want to be attached to it, but you really have to step back and kind of hope that the world and everything that navigates around it can keep continuing it to let it rise up. I learned so much from these girls and fathers, being friends with them and kind of growing up together, the resilience of heart and the ability of our, ways to forgive, and what we can go through and still be kind and show love to each other will always be inspiring. No matter what obstacles come into my life, I'll always have this and the girls to remind me it's possible.
Yes. I learned that we need more Black storytelling. There is a major gap, especially when it comes to Black women and girls. When I saw how people reacted, I'm taking for granted that being a Black woman and also having a program that advances Black girls, that, how many people don't know their brilliance, their resiliency, the way that they are usually depicted or stereotyped is so false. And so I realized that there is a new gap that I was not aware of in the film industry at that level until I started to make the film with Natalie that's needed. I can see it from a person who's in the audience. But now that I have the opportunity, to make more films, I see the power of the visibility. And I also learned that I can make a film, right? Absolutely. Thank you.
Now, what's next for you? I know the representative from Netflix is here, so I'll put you on the spot. I always do that. Why don't you come up? What's next for the ladies in this distribution arena?
We just are happy to get their film out there, so we are continually supporting it.
Yes.
This film's been on Netflix since August, and to get a crowd in here, like the Hamptons.
Yes, we appreciate it.
And again, I know
And
that
I want to add what's next for us. We do have an impact campaign. And so with that, we do have impact screenings. We have ways that you all can continue to support the families with our education fund for the girls, because we definitely know that when you are a part of a family that has been impacted by the criminal justice system, unfortunately, you do not see them in a position to continue their education. But we all in this room know, she already talked about how brilliant you are, that education is the key to really making sure that we bridge gaps, that we break cycles. And so we just want you to just follow our work, that is also going to be the tool of this film. This awareness that we have is to continue to uplift families and to change this horrible, despicable policy around touch visits. We are going to make sure that this film is in many political leaders' hands so that we can make sure that children have the right to hug and love and touch their parents. And that also needs your support because it starts from the bottom all the way to the top. Y'all know, y'all just voted.
Yes, I'm going to open it up for questions. The other thing I should just say in terms of supporting this film, I always say it takes a tribe of women. So I see I have a 5 minutes. So let's start back there.
Thank you for such a remarkable documentary, and I think you made us feel so connected to the characters, the people. Can you fill in the backstory of Aubrey? Why
Give
was
her the mic.
moved to different I was curious about the backstory of Aubrey. I was saying that you helped us connect so much with all the people involved. Why was her father moved to different facilities? And can you explain anything about the distance that she seemed to have with her father in the last few times that we saw her on screen?
Yes, I would challenge you to please look up the criminal justice system and understand that that's what the system it does. It is not designed to keep the families together. It is all about capitalism and making money off of bodies. And so that's how it works, unfortunately. So what happens is that a family member can just be moved without notifying you. They don't think about, the distance and what barriers they're put on the families, but there are prison reform initiatives that are out there also fighting that. It's visitation, it's conditions, it's, how far families are. So that's something that you can look at state by state if you're interested in knowing that. And then the impact that it has on Aubrey and all other children that family members are incarcerated. It could affect grades, your mental health, so it's something that we are saying that we're trying to support them on. But the goal for us is to make sure that the parent's decision does not define who the child has the opportunity to become.
Thank you. We'll take this question.
Did you show the film to the fathers?
The fathers that are out saw it with all the other family members before we picture locked, and we've also kind of shown the families as we went, maybe glimpses a year to year to just be on track with everyone. Unfortunately, Keith, Aubrey's father, and Alonzo Rizai's father have not seen the film, so we're working with now some new contacts at San Quentin and different places where we can try to put more pressure for them to see it.
We'll have back here who has the mic.
How did you make the decision to limit the focus on the fathers and not focus more on the mothers? And do you have any interest in exploring that in the future?
Where the program was started by the girls in Richmond, Virginia to focus on the father. So we told you the story. The story was what we told. So we did not make that decision. When Natalie reached out to me, it was because the TED Talk spoke about the fact that these girls in Richmond, Virginia requested a dance in the jail with their incarcerated fathers. And so that's the story we were responsible for telling.
Yeah, and maybe this will inspire someone else to tell the story of the mothers because they're such a big part of everything. So we'll keep it going.
Sorry. We have someone in the back here, and then I'm going to quickly, I know we have to leave, but I'm going to quickly try to get to two other people. And I can do it if we're succinct.
We'll be concise.
I'll try to be very quick. The sheriff seemed to have a lot to do with making the dances with the dads happen. Are there other situations where you can reach out to someone like that to do the same thing in other counties and states? And my second question is, what did you guys disagree on anything? How did you handle
I'm
your
sure.
disagreements?
They
on
won't
how to
say that,
approach
but I'm
this?
sure they did.
Creative, of course you do.
Yeah.
Well, I would just answer the sheriff's question really quickly. If the sheriff or the warden would like for this to happen, they do have the right to decide. So usually they contact us, someone around, like a parent in there, somebody can contact us, but they actually make the decision. So that goes back to how you vote for someone who wants to make sure that families stay connected.
Oh, that's a good thing to hear.
I'd love to know how Chad got involved in all of this, and how do you reach out to more personalities like Chad?
Personalities.
Or
Well, I've known
just
Chad
like-
for 35 years.
have a question.
And Chad and I both run community organizations, and he already was running a fatherhood and a motherhood program in Richmond, Virginia. And I requested for him to come inside the jail when when the girls said, "Hey, we want to do this dance." We understood that they needed a program and not just a dance. So Chad and I partnered on the curriculum, and we've been working together since then.
Thank
Awesome
you.
person.
We have two last questions, quickly.
I have two quick questions. Do you still speak to any of the girls in the movie?
Yeah, all of them, all the time.
Yesterday.
And there was yes, and there was
An ongoing relationship.
there was
yeah.
very little information in the film about the economics of their lives. Who paid for what? Who made a salary? Who was on welfare? Was that a conscious decision just to focus on the father-daughter relationship?
Yeah, I think that you can see there's elements of that, but it wasn't what the film was about. But you can see that, there's certain scenes where we're meeting up late, and there might be an inability to drive to something. There's clues of that, but it just wasn't what we wanted to focus on.
Last question.
Was it difficult to get that much access inside the prisons and the prison? And the other question was, I understand your women and daughters, but the discussion of sons and fathers.
Okay, I'm going to go back again.
Okay, forget that.
Girls for a Change. Girls decided that they wanted to do a father-daughter dance in the prison. My role is to be the ambassador or the ally to make sure what the girls asked for. This was their social change project to change narrative and perspectives. And that is what Natalie asked to film. And that was our responsibility to be accountable for that story. And to get access to jails and prisons, it is challenging. But when they are welcoming you as a community partner, the world opens up. That dance was supposed to be 4 hours, and those correctional officers fell so in love with that moment of touch that they gave us 2 extra hours, and they came down the Soul Train line too.
Absolutely. Thank you, ladies. Thank you so much. I would encourage you, please go to the website for Girls for Change and the filmmakers' website. I had questions about how did they get the dresses? How did they get the clothes?